Today's story starts in a literal boys' club. I'm not talking about a treehouse or some kind of den of iniquity like a gentleman's club somewhere in a seedy part of the city. Instead, I'm talking about a place in Athens called the Orego Pegas. Now, this was a field of rocks where people would often present views and philosophers would debate back and forth. Now, almost exclusively male philosophers would debate there. And so, St. Paul, being a man, being a Christian who wants to convert others, he goes and he speaks to the people there. And I wanted to read this story. There's a longer speech, but I'm going to summarize it. Basically, St. Paul is talking to the people all gathered around the Orego Pegas. Then he continues, since we are God's offspring, we ought not to think that the deity is like gold or silver or stone, an image made by the art or imagination of mortals. While God has overlooked times of human ignorance, now he commands people everywhere to repent, because he has fixed a day on which he will have the world judged in righteousness by a man whom he has appointed. And of this he has given assurance to all by raising him from the dead. When they, all of the folks gathered at the Orego Pegas, had heard this, some scoffed, but others say, we will hear you again about this. At that point, Paul left them. But some of them joined him and became believers, including Dionysius the Areopagite and a woman named Damaris and others with them. Now, why are we talking about Damaris? She is not really featured very much in the Bible. This is the one exclusive mention of her in the book of Acts. She's not mentioned anywhere else. We don't really have very much of a history of her. We do have some knowledge of who this person was, though. There were only really two types of women that were allowed onto the Orego Pegas, into this kind of like debate field that they had in Athens. So one of them were courtesans. You can look that word up if you want to figure out what I'm talking about. The other is that sometimes Stoics allowed women into their ranks. So if she was a Stoic, then she could be allowed into the ranks. It goes back and forth. Different authors think that could mean that she could belong to one group or to another group. The important thing to note, though, is that she is here and that she becomes an early Christian in Athens. Now, I find this story kind of funny because I've actually been to the Orego Pegas. I haven't been to a lot of these places that are written about in the Bible. However, this is one place that I've actually been to. It is really just a field of rocks. We walked past it as we were going up to the Parthenon, I believe it was, which is just beautiful, overlooks Athens on this massive hill. And there's kind of this field of stones that you pass by. And this is where St. Paul gave this speech that we have recorded here in Acts. And it's important to remember that these are real people that existed in a real place. Now, we don't know a ton about her, about Damaris. However, we can guess that she was important to the early Christian church because she is explicitly referenced here. And she was probably important in the main city of Greece, which of course at that time was Athens. So she's an interesting little footnote, not really someone that I can give a whole lot of description on because we don't have a lot of information. However, it is interesting that she gets explicitly named as a Christian and that she was apparently affected by this speech that Paul gave. So we give thanks for her memory. She doesn't have a saint's day or anything like that because she really is only mentioned once. However, I would encourage you to tune in next week for Priscilla, who does have a saint's day and is mentioned quite a bit in the book of Acts. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave a comment if you'd like to ask a question or share this with a friend.